Geography isn't just about maps and capital cities. It's about uncovering the weird, unexpected, and downright unbelievable things that shape our planet. So, buckle up, because these geography facts are going to surprise you, confuse you, and maybe even make you feel just a little bit dumb, but in the best way possible. 1. Wyoming has almost no escalators. Seriously, Wyoming, the least populated state in the US, is famously reported to have only 2 sets of escalators in the entire state. That's fewer than what you'd find in a single shopping mall. This is because with fewer than 600,000 people, Wyoming has very few multi-story buildings. Most places just use stairs or elevators. With its wide-open spaces, ranches, and small towns, escalators simply aren't a priority. 2. Bhutan, the only carbon-negative country in the world. While most countries struggle to cut carbon emissions, Bhutan is the world's only carbon-negative nation, absorbing more CO2 than it produces. This is thanks to strict environmental policies, extensive forest cover, over 70%, and a commitment to sustainability. Bhutan's constitution mandates at least 60% forest coverage, making its land a massive natural carbon sink. Nearly all electricity comes from hydropower, reducing fossil fuel use. The government also limits tourism, requiring visitors to pay a sustainability fee. While the world debates emissions cuts, Bhutan is actively removing carbon from the atmosphere, setting an inspiring example for global conservation efforts. 3. The Wallace Line is a mysterious invisible border in nature. The Wallace Line is an invisible natural boundary between Bali and Lombok in Indonesia, just 35 kilometers apart. Yet their wildlife is completely different. Bali has monkeys, tigers, and deer like Asia, while Lombok has cockatoos and marsupials like Australia. Named after scientist Alfred Russel Wallace, this divide exists because millions of years ago, Bali was connected to Asia, while Lombok was linked to Australia. Even birds rarely cross it, as evolution shaped 2 distinct ecosystems. Though close neighbors today, their past connections to different continents left a lasting impact on their wildlife. 4. The oldest river in the world is Australia's Finke River, 400 million years old. You might think rivers are just water flowing through land, constantly changing over time. And while that's true, some rivers have been flowing in the same path for an insanely long time. Take the Finke River in Australia. Scientists estimate this river is about 400 million years old, making it possibly the oldest river in the world. The dinosaurs didn't even show up until about 230 million years ago. This river existed before trees even evolved. Today, the Finke River is mostly dry, only flowing after heavy rains. But its ancient riverbed has been carved by time itself, making it one of the most fascinating natural landmarks in Australia. 5. The French Broad River is older than the Appalachian Mountains. The French Broad River in North Carolina is around 340 million years old, making it older than the Appalachian Mountains it flows through. As the mountains rose, the river kept carving through the rock instead of being diverted, making it one of the few rivers that cut through a mountain range. It's as if time itself refused to change its course. So, next time you're in the Appalachian region, remember the river you see was already ancient when those mountains were just beginning to form. 6th, Don Juan Pond in Antarctica never freezes, even at minus 50 degrees Celsius. Antarctica is the coldest place on Earth, but Don Juan Pond remains liquid even in minus 50 degrees Celsius, minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures. Its extreme salt concentration, over 40%, nearly twice as salty as the Dead Sea, prevents it from freezing, acting like natural antifreeze. This makes it the saltiest natural body of water on Earth and a key site for scientists studying Mars-like conditions. If life can survive in Don Juan Pond, it might survive on other planets with similar extreme environments. 7. Shipton's Arch is the lost and found giant of China. In 1947, British explorer Eric Shipton discovered Shipton's Arch in China, the tallest natural arch in the world at 1,500 feet, 460 meters, twice the height of the Empire State Building. Then, it vanished. For over 50 years, no one could find it, and some even doubted its existence. Finally, in 2000, a National Geographic expedition rediscovered the arch, hidden in an incredibly remote, rugged landscape. For half a century, this natural wonder was like a geographic ghost story, proving how even massive landmarks can disappear in the right conditions. 8. Earth is smoother than a billiard ball. On a cosmic scale, Earth may seem rugged with its mountains and trenches, but if shrunk to the size of a billiard ball, it would be smoother than the ball itself. Compared to Earth's 12,742 kilometers, 7,918 miles diameter, even Mount Everest, 8.8 kilometers, 5.5 miles, and the Mariana Trench, 10.9 kilometers. Kilometer per 6.8 miles are tiny. At that scale, these features would barely be noticeable. So, while Earth feels rough to us, on a cosmic scale, it's a smooth sphere drifting through space. 9. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake raised global sea levels by 0.1 millimeters. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake was so powerful, it changed Earth's sea levels and rotation. On December 26, 2004, a 9.1 to 9.3 magnitude quake off Sumatra, Indonesia, triggered a massive tsunami, devastating Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, and parts of Africa, killing over 230,000 people. But its effects weren't just local. The quake displaced enough water to raise global sea levels by 0.1 millimeters and was so intense it slightly altered Earth's rotation, making days a few microseconds shorter. A single event shook the entire planet forever. 10. Wildlife populations have dropped by more than two-thirds since 1970. Since 1970, wild animal populations have dropped by over two-thirds for every 3 animals then. Only 1 remains now. Deforestation, climate change, pollution, and poaching are wiping out species, shrinking rainforests, killing coral reefs, and disrupting ecosystems. The good news? Conservation works. Wildlife protection and reforestation efforts have helped species recover. But without stronger action, we risk losing even more of Earth's biodiversity forever. 11th. High birth rates and poverty are deeply connected. Overpopulation is often seen as a crisis, but poverty and high birth rates go hand in hand. In developing nations, especially in Africa and South Asia, high birth rates aren't just cultural, they're a survival strategy. Children provide labor and financial support, especially in rural areas. Limited access to education, contraception, and healthcare leaves women with little control over family planning. This creates a vicious cycle. Poverty fuels high birth rates, and high birth rates keep families in poverty. The solution is investing in education, women's rights, and economic opportunities, which naturally lead to lower birth rates and long-term progress. 12. The global population will peak at 10.4 billion in the 2080s. For years, people thought the world's population would keep growing, but UN projections say otherwise. The population is expected to peak at 10.4 billion in the 2080s, then stall or decline. It is because fertility rates are dropping worldwide due to urbanization, economic stability, and better education and healthcare. Countries like Japan and South Korea already face shrinking populations, raising a new challenge: too few young people to support aging societies. If this trend continues, low birth rates may reshape the global economy and labor force, shifting concerns from overpopulation to population decline. 13. The 46 least developed countries are growing the fastest. Some of the world's poorest countries like Niger, Chad, and the DRC are set to double in population by 2050, worsening poverty, food shortages, and weak infrastructure. Rapid growth overwhelms schools, hospitals, and housing, making progress harder. The key to sustainable growth is education, healthcare, and job creation. Empowering women and improving birth control access helps stabilize birth rates, easing pressure on resources. 14. Aging populations are a major problem in many developed countries. Some countries face the opposite of overpopulation. They lack young people. Japan, Italy, and Germany have some of the world's lowest birth rates, leading to shrinking workforces and economic strain. With fewer workers paying taxes and supporting industries, governments must boost birth rates or attract immigrants to fill labor gaps. Japan is the most extreme case, with 28% of its population over 65. Some towns are nearly abandoned, forcing school closures and business shutdowns. To counter this, countries are exploring immigration, automation, and financial incentives for childbirth, but reversing an aging population isn't easy. 15. Shakespeare is more popular in Germany than in England. You'd think Shakespeare's biggest fans would be in England, but Germany might love him even more. Shakespeare is performed more in Germany than in England, with festivals, dedicated theaters, and passionate scholars. This is because German translations by Schlegel and Tieck are considered masterpieces, capturing his poetic rhythm so well that some argue they're better than the original English. Even Goethe admired Shakespeare, solidifying his influence in German culture. While many struggle with Shakespearean English, Germans embrace his works as if they were written for them. From ancient rivers outliving mountains to earthquakes that literally changed time. From wildlife vanishing before our eyes to population trends reshaping the future, the world is full of mind-blowing surprises. How many of these did you already know? If you loved these mind-blowing geography facts, don't keep them to yourself.